Hello, my name is John Wagner, and this screencast deals with the final setup template. So we're going to go through the PowerPoint presentation on taking the created variable parameter problem and converting it into something that students can actually see and use. You need to open up the creation file template. I put it under the custom office templates and go to new personal and then click on the template, but any way you want to open it is fine. We'll be going through the steps in the process. They are given kind of in the salmon colored here, starting with step 0, where the step 0 is just save the file. We're going to be using the same naming convention that we did earlier with the create file, just replacing the word create with setup and adding the initials of the person that's doing the final setup. It is also an Excel macro enabled workbook. Step 1 is just to take the yellow box that was in the creation file and paste it into the yellow box in the setup file. Similarly, we want to take the input-output box in the creation file and just paste the values into the input-output box of the setup file. So it's a paste special values. Step 3 is to fill in the reference name and info. Reference is just where the solution to the base case exists. Sometimes this is an example in a book, sometimes it's a LearnChemie video, sometimes it's a PDF file that you've made. Also, the sheet you're going to name with a similar naming convention as the files. Set the difficulty level that you think the students will have with it from 1 to 5, 1 being the easiest. In the drop-down menus, select the concepts that are being covered in the problem. Next, you will close that creation file that you had open earlier. You could have done that a few steps earlier, but now's as good a time as any. And in step 5, you will take and put zeros on all the parts that aren't going to be machine graded. Step 6 is just setting up some of the other options that you have to present the students. Whether you want to show a quote, how much tolerance that you give the student before you count it correct, whether you want to show the base case answers, whether you want to show the base case reference. There is a preliminary problem spreadsheet, and you can either elect to show that or not, and how many points you're going to give for that. There's also a reflection part that you can show or not, and how many points you're going to give for the reflection questions. Another part of documentation is taking the problem statement and pasting it into a Word document just so that people can easily peruse the statements and see which ones they want to include. You want to save the Word document with a similar naming convention as the spreadsheets. The preliminary worksheet, if you chose to set that up, you can choose which questions to ask. Option 1 and option 2 listed here have to do with the student selecting the order of magnitude. Option 3 through 9 are just other questions you could ask, and you can put them in different order that you want. You can also turn them off by selecting 0. On the estimation part, if you chose to include that, you'll basically set the range for the order of magnitude estimates for their drop-down menu. You can also change how many they have to answer, whether they can answer any 1, any 2, all the way to all. Step 8 is very similar to step 7, except you're dealing with the reflection questions. You're going to also select the order of the questions. Some of these questions can depend on how the students rated the problem stated here. You want to go ahead and save the file, and then if you want to change how the points are awarded on the machine graded part of the problem, you can go ahead and do it after you save the problem. The next step is just to lock it down. This will actually create a file that's in a macro-free file that the students will actually see. The lockdown macro, which is the Control-Shift-L. This will bring up the problem as the students will see it, and you want to go ahead and check that over. But when you close out of the problem, do not save the problem. You'll want to save it in its original format.